In 1966, the Chicago Bears drafted the son of a Pennsylvania coal miner in the 4th round. Doug Buffone would go on to play 15 seasons for the Bears and later be named one of the 100 greatest Bears of all time. His allegiance to the Bears never waned, even when he took to the microphone and witnessed some horrendous Bears teams.
The fact is, there's not the fear put into them, because this game is a lot about fear. You either do the job, or you go home and go sell hamburgers at McDonald's.
Doug told it like it is, and that's part of the reason his nephew John has dedicated this show to Doug. And now John Buffone is spreading Buffone-branded beratements just like his uncle.
Being a Chicago Bears fan is like being in a toxic relationship that you can't get out of. I think I'm finally done, and then they come back and they say, well, things are going to be different this time. I've changed. We've got receivers now. We've got the quarterback now. And even though I've heard this song and dance before, I go back every time.
And he's got pep talks too.
I love this team. And I know everyone watching and listening loves this team. So while we may be pessimistic and cynical, every one of us still has hope that the stars will align at some point. And if that ever does happen, you'll be glad you stuck around.
John is telling it like it is here on Buffone 55. And joining John are Alyssa Barbieri, managing editor of USA Today's NFL Wires, including Bears Wire, and also Danny Shimon, lead game and draft analyst for the Barroom Network. Buckle up and bear down. This is Buffone 55, the John Buffone Show.
Hello and welcome to Buffone 55. My name is Alyssa Barbieri from USA Today's NFL Wires, including Bears Wire. And you're probably wondering why I'm starting today's show. Well, for the past few weeks, we've tried different ways to start the show, all in an effort to, maybe through some cosmic barroom way, change the vibe with the Chicago Bears. Well, it hasn't exactly worked. On Sunday, the Bears lost their 5th straight game of the season and are now sitting at 4-7, ensconced in last place in the NFC North. That's 4 games behind the Green Bay Packers, 5 games behind the Minnesota Vikings, and 6 games behind the 10-1 Detroit Lions, who the Bears play Thursday on Thanksgiving. Frankly, we don't expect this new open to do any good, but why not try? So with all that, let me welcome the true lead host of the show, our savior, John Buffone.
Oh, do not call me that, Alyssa. How you doing? That was a great open, by the way. You painted a picture of the misery of the Midway as well as anyone could have, myself included. So thank you for taking that burden off of me so I didn't have to do it this week.
Oh, of course, John. And, we've also made another change to our open, and that is our traditional B55 segment where you usually answer 5 questions in 55 seconds to honor your Uncle Doug. Well, we're going to skip that too. Hope you don't mind.
Not at all. I'm not sure I could have delivered another one of those vein-popping 55-second rants. Honestly, this team is wearing on my emotional health and my physical health. So this is kind of like a what do they call it in the NBA? Load management game for me almost. Like I'm just sitting back. I'll contribute when I need to. But this team is just beating me up, man.
We worry about you, John. I mean, I don't think Aldo does, but no, he likes to see you turn red and complain about the Bears. I'm sure we have some other barflies that like to say that as well. But I do know that Danny Shimon, the Barroom's chief analyst, does. He joins us now. Danny, how you doing?
Hi, Alyssa. Hi, John. I do worry about John. Actually, when I first saw him on the screen there, I thought maybe he's going through some sort of strike or something, like he's going to grow the facial hair, grow the hair until the Bears win the game. Like it could be a long, long time, John. The holidays are coming up. I'm sure you all look nice and pretty for those pictures. So
listen, Danny, I grow facial hair at the rate of like a 10-year-old because this is like honestly like a month, and this is all I got. Like I cannot grow facial hair very well, so I gave it a shot.
That might be perfect for this Bears team. That might actually be perfect then if you're trying to do that.
Yeah, I move as slow as the Bears do on offense sometimes. So I'm not on strike. I'm not making any kind of a statement. I just got real lazy and didn't shave. That's basically it.
I mean, you're doing about the same as what the Bears are doing, as an organization. So I mean, like, hey, we do like to mirror the organization with our show sometimes. So
you're right.
So guys, Buffone's Basement is what we call our informal discussion about the Bears, and that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to turn the reins over to you, John, to moderate the discussion.
Awesome. So let's just start with that Vikings game, because I think as Bears fans, we've just become, I don't know, numb to the way that they lose now, because when you lose on a Hail Mary and you lose on a blocked kick and you lose in overtime, and someone's just like, is that all you got, football gods? A loss in overtime? Is that really it? We've been through a lot more than that. That's all you got as an overtime loss after recovering an onside kick, which I believe was the first one this year for a team to recover an onside kick. Of course the Bears got it, and they still turned it into a loss. So I once again, for the third time this year, I'm getting people texting me saying, oh, man, Caleb's looking good. They're going to come back. They're going to do this. I said, wait until the clock hits 000, or in this case, they kick a game-winning field goal. So let's kind of rehash that Vikings game, as miserable as it may be. Danny, obviously Matt Eberflus is going to be in the crosshairs for a lot of people, everyone on this panel included. But the mistakes keep piling up. What did you see during the Vikings game?
I mean, I'm telling you, just when I think I've seen it all, I think the Packers game got me pissed off. The Patriots game had me furious, and it just keeps going and going. Like you said, John, the hits keep coming, right, with this guy. And first of all, let's just start off with special teams, right? Second week in a row, actually back-to-back kicks, you get a field goal blocked, right? Same thing happened. They stacked over on that left side where the Packers did, and then I think Matt Pryor was the weak link there. He allows that pressure. They come in and they block Kairos Santos' kick. You would think that the special teams coach would sit down and make adjustments and make some sort of correction that, hey, this happened last week, we can't happen again this week. But nope. First field goal attempt that gets blocked, and then DeAndre Carter, obviously, he's waving off Terrell Smith, but he doesn't leave the area, and then you get the ball bounced off him, turns the ball over back to the Vikings. That's just special teams. Let's get to the head of the snake here, and Matt Eberflus, right? So the first thing that got me furious was, it was a first play into the third quarter, 14:55 left on the clock. There was a big pass play to Jordan Addison for 69 yards, and he challenges it. And how many times have we talked about stop with the dumb challenges? Whoever is in the booth assisting him gotta go. He's gotta go. Or he or she's got to go, because there's nothing on the replay that showed he was close, but nothing definitive that showed that he was going to go ahead and overturn this play. It was a big play, but it's a first play in the third quarter. All right. If your defense is weak and can't hold them to a field goal, I'm sorry. That speaks volumes to you there as well, Mr. Defensive Coordinator. And then so subsequently, what happens there? They lose a challenge, lose a timeout, right? So early in the third quarter, you're down to 2 timeouts. Now, there's the next Bears first drive in the second half, 4th and 4. Okay. First of all, he wants to go for it, but he doesn't tell the special teams coordinator. So now we have the special teams unit coming onto the field. We have the offense saying, "What are you guys doing?" All right. He doesn't communicate to his coaching staff. There's a bunch of confusion there. Finally, they get the special teams unit off. They're going for it. In all the commotion, Thomas Brown throws up the play into Caleb's ear. He mishears the play. He calls the wrong play. No, you can't call it timeout. Clock's running down. Caleb's doing all the adjustments at the line of scrimmage. I'm thinking they're gonna get a delayed game here, but 2 seconds, 1 second, they get the snap off, and it's an incompletion to Keenan Allen. Caleb heard the wrong play, so that wasn't even the play Thomas Brown had called in, but he still was able to overcome and almost got the first down. But the communication, the lack of communication there between him, his special teams coordinator, and his offensive coordinator, and just looked like a head coach again that's in over his head. Now move on to the fourth quarter. All right, 6:32 left in the fourth quarter. I got tons of examples, guys. Hope you guys are comfortable there, because I can keep going on here today. 6:32 left in the fourth quarter. All right, Minnesota facing a 3rd and 13. Right, Sam Darnold just got injured. He was out. Okay, he had to leave out of the game for a play. 3rd and 13. Here comes Nick Mullins, career journeyman backup. You're like, all right, he comes off the bench, cold, 3rd and 13. Bears can just get him off the field and get the ball back. Nope. Nick Mullins comes in and converts on a 14-yard pass play to Aaron Jones. Gets a first down off the bench, cold, and he converts. Kevin O'Connell doesn't even respect your defense or your play calling ability, and brings his backup off the bench, starts just handing it off and getting off the field and seeing what happens with his injured starter. He goes ahead and lets the backup, cold, go ahead and throw a ball and converts on first down. If you're a defensive guru, if the reason why they kept you last year was because of this defense, well, you know what? There are some plays there that your defense let them down. You couldn't get you off the football field. So defensive guru, what's going on there? And the other thing is this is something I might get some pushback from you guys and maybe even some of the analytics people here in our audience. But after DJ Moore scores and he makes it a 1 touchdown game, why go for 2? Now, I understand people might say, all right, you come back and you make it. If you make it that 2-point conversion, it's a 6-point game. Next touchdown, you can win the game. But usually that type of theory and logic goes when you're playing on the road, right? You want to get it down to less than a touchdown game. Maybe you can steal a road victory and get off the field. You're playing at home, right? You go ahead and kick the extra point, make it a 7-point game, and you go ahead and get a touchdown. And now you can tie the game up and hopefully either win it in overtime or in whatever time is left in the game. To me, that logic, some might disagree. That makes no sense. That makes no sense going for 2 there at that point. So now they don't convert the 2-point conversion. Now they're chasing a touchdown and a 2-point conversion as opposed to just getting a touchdown and kicking the extra point. So those are just some of the 6 basic ones that I just jotted down real quick after the game. But every single one of these had me screaming at my TV. My neighbors are thinking I'm going crazy. What the hell is this guy doing talking to himself? My kids don't even come near me during Bears games because they're petrified of me in terms of the way I act and the way I scream at this TV. I don't know. I mean, I know, John, I talk about you and that vein popping out. Man, some days I got veins, everything popping out of my head. And this guy's going to give me a heart attack but before the season's over. We have 6 more games with this guy.
That's what the Chicago Bears do to somebody. They make those veins pop out in your neck, and you're wondering what the heck you're watching now. Alyssa, something that Danny was really hammering on was the special teams. Obviously, there can be some push on Hightower, the special teams coach. What is your thoughts on him as the special teams coach? They can't just get rid of another position coach mid-season, right? Or is it they're going to get rid of him? They might as well get rid of the head coach as well. What's your thoughts on special teams and especially the coaching?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they got rid of anyone else but Eberflus at this point. It's what does he have to do? Danny just went on a spiel, named only 6 of those examples from this last game, and Eberflus just keeps finding ways. It's almost like he's trying to get fired. But yeah, on the special teams, it was rough. I mean, going back to Cairo Santos' first field goal attempt after that just gut-wrenching block against the Packers, blocked again. Same exact way. And I feel like at this point, like the lack of adjustment and like Danny was talking about too, that angers me because now, that's something that teams will be looking to exploit moving forward. And I honestly would put money on the Lions blocking a field goal this week. It's brutal. And then going to the DeAndre Carter situation when that pump bounced off and he's waving guys away, but he's not getting away. And then the coaches put him right back in there afterwards. There's no consequence. I mean, yes, he did have that long return later that did set up a touchdown, but it is more of the same from Eberflus and this coaching staff. And it all comes back to the lack of accountability. And I wouldn't be surprised if Hightower was some kind of scapegoat, but at this point, if you're going to fire somebody else, just get rid of Eberflus. Just get rid of him. Cut the head off of the snake.
Yeah, there's there are only so many coaches left that you can fire, and Danny, I'm going to get to the defense because that's supposed to be the redeeming quality of Matt Eberflus. But before we dig into that, Alyssa, can you run down some analytics of that defense before we kind of jump into the conversation?
Sorry, everyone. You might want to grab a cocktail at this point of the show. So the Bears defense had 18 sacks in their first 6 games when they started out 4-2 when things were promising, birds were chirping. But over the last 5 games during this losing streak, they have had only 10 in that span, and that's an average of 1 less per game during this 5-game skid. And the run defense, which was the best in the NFL last season, now allows a full yard per attempt more than he did last year, and currently ranked 27th. And they were struggling even before Andrew Billings went down. So that's been a big focal point. And over the last 2 games, division opponents against the Packers and the Vikings, this Bears defense has allowed a total of 818 yards. Take a drink, guys.
Yeah, those are fun stats. Thank you for that uplifting rundown there, Alyssa. Danny, before we talk about the defense as a whole, I wanted to get your opinion on the defense in overtime, because that has been a subject of ridicule throughout that. Eberflus was playing this soft zone. He's just letting basically Minnesota march down the field. I was fully expecting him to say in his press conference, well, we're happy we held them to a field goal in overtime. But what was your thoughts on that defensive drive in overtime, and then the defense as a whole, as it's been, well, I use this term loosely, progressing through the season?
Yeah, well, what looked like they were doing, John, early on in the game is, and Justin Jefferson had a horrible game. I think he had like 1 or 2 catches for under 10 yards, because they were playing a lot of shell coverage over him when they had a corner, and then also a safety kind of leaning over his side, so they make sure that 2 guys basically on him at all times. But that allowed for guys like Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson to get open, and then those guys were just coming right through the zone and big gaps and getting big chunks of yards, and that's how they kind of went down and got in field goal range there in overtime. And the one thing, and like Alyssa touched on it here with the stats, they're not getting to the quarterback. They're not pressuring the quarterback. Now, this game, there were some pressure, some hurries there. There were 3 sacks in total. Montez Sweat got 1. I do think once he gets fully healthy, I think we'll see his numbers kind of jump back up there again. Curious, Eric Washington today was talking about some of the adjustments he's made with Montez Sweat in terms of his angles and getting to the quarterback and some counter moves. So that's curious to see if that kind of helps him out here during the rest of the season. But overall, they're not getting to the quarterback. And what happened in previous years before they got Montez Sweat, in order for them to generate pressure, Eberflus started designing some blitzes. He came from all angles of the defensive levels, whether it's the secondary guy, whether it's a corner, a slot blitz, whether it's a linebacker blitz. It's bringing extra guys, and that's what he had to start doing. He should have started doing, I should say, in overtime, to get pressure and rattle Arnold, Sam Darnold. But Darnold had over 300 yards passing, 330 yards passing as well, and they tore him up and then just marched right down the football field and scored. So they did a great job on minimizing the damage of Justin Jefferson, took him away, but then all the other guys kind of fed off of that, and they ate. So Jordan Addison had over 162 yards receiving. I believe Hawkinson got over 80 yards receiving as well. So that element of the defense there went down, and again, not getting pressure. Let's touch on it again. They can't stop the run now. Aaron Jones over 100 yards rushing. What's Detroit going to do to you guys when they just can jam it down your throat? I mean, at this point, I mean, I can expect a 50 burger on the Bears defense, coming here in Thanksgiving Day. So we'll see what happens.
I have had it.
You ain't kidding. I think we all have. And that leads me to the question, before we jump into the offense, because there were some positives to take away from the offense of Caleb Williams. But let's talk about this coming game. If the Bears get absolutely blown out on national TV on Thanksgiving in Detroit, what are the odds that you think that the Bears actually fire a coach for the first time in the middle of the season? Alyssa, I'll go to you first. Let's just say Danny's prediction, or just said they might put 50 on the Bears. If they put 50 on the Bears, on a defensive head coach who his redeeming quality is supposed to be the defense, and they give up 50 and they get blown out by 25, 30 points, whatever, what happens?
I mean, I want to have confidence that they would fire him, but I mean, again, we saw, what happened with Mark Trestman in back-to-back games with get 50 points put on. I mean, I would like to hope that would happen. Like, maybe this is something where with Ryan Poles, maybe he feels like he needs to make this move in order to keep his seat from getting warm. I don't think they're going to fire him, but I feel like this would be the time for him to make a move. And we're going to talk about Thomas Brown here in a little bit, but also there's an opportunity to see what he can do in an interim role at head coach as well. My confidence level is 0 that they'll actually do it. So I'm hoping that if I keep my expectations low, they might surprise me, because and again, I wouldn't be surprised, like Danny said, if they do put 50 on them. The Lions are the best team in the league. We saw them put 50 points on 2 other teams earlier this season, including the Titans, that the Bears squeaked out a win earlier in week 1. So, I mean, things could get very ugly here on Thursday. And if they do, I just don't see how you keep Eberflus after it just keeps getting worse, and the locker room's already lost. And you have, again, leaders. Jalen Johnson going on the score. He was just so frustrated. He's like, this is the bet. Like, this is a roster that should be winning, that should be contending for the playoffs. And it's like, why aren't we? Why can't we win? Why can't we buy a win at this point? So, I mean, they should do it. Do I have any confidence that they will? Absolutely not.
Danny, any confidence at all? Because in my opinion, at least, if it's going to happen, it's going to be after this game when they have 10 days before their next game. Because at that rate, then you're going to wait till the second to last game of the season. You're going to wait till the last game of the season. No, I think if there is a window of where that's going to happen, it will be after this particular game. And if it doesn't happen after this particular game, you're just going to have to ride with them for the rest of the season. What do you think?
I agree. And then, listen, last week, I know you missed the show, but I predicted that the Bears were going to fire Eberflus because, during the season and break that streak because of the fact that I didn't see them winning another game. I couldn't see them, being favored to win in any of these remaining games on their schedule. So I figured it was going to happen. But John, you're right. If they put up a 50-burger, Detroit does on this Matt Eberflus-led defense, and the Bears are whether they put 24 or 30 points on offense, they're not going to be competitive in this game, right? So if that happens and they're embarrassed on national TV on Thanksgiving Day, I think now the impetus comes down to not the McCaskies or Ryan Poles. I think Kevin Warren. News broke late yesterday that they've come to a deal in Arlington Heights now in terms of that tax issue they're having with the school district there. So that gets them a little bit step closer to now having some competition for the city for Lakefront. Remember, Kevin Warren wants to build a stadium, right? It's hard to get the fans and everybody enthusiastic about you building a stadium when your team sucks. When the head coach on your team has the whole nation or all the fan base, I should say, just kind of feeling lethargic and not giving a damn about the team. So I think that's what's going to spark it if it does happen. And I think this is a perfect opportunity. John, like I said, it's going to be 10 days after that, after the Lions game till the next game. I think you insert Thomas Brown as your interim head coach. Remember, he's been an assistant head coach with Sean McVay in the Rams when they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. So he's got quote unquote, coaching experience, head coaching experience, if you will, and more of a background area. But, assuming, we'll talk about him later, but in terms of, that the progression with Caleb and the offense continue to take off on Thomas Brown, let's give him the reins, guys. Because, what if he is head coach material right there on your sidelines, okay, waiting to happen, and then you don't have to, you might let it lose him, or if you go get somebody else from outside the organization. I'm just saying, I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself here in terms of naming him head coach, but let's give him a shot. Let's give him an audition. Playoffs are out of the picture. You're not making the playoffs. What do you got to lose, right? Caleb is going to be with the same with the play caller. Your team might get rejuvenated. You just put on the coach's the press conference today. You would listen to Thomas Brown talk. Just simple stuff like talk about his kids and how he respects them, how he treats them, how he talks to Caleb, and you can feel like something building inside you in terms of this is a guy that you want to go play for, right? As opposed to Matt Eberflus or even Shane Waldron for crying out loud before that. So that's the thing. It's like, let's try it. Let's try it and see what happens. You can probably put Eberflus out of his misery. Stop answering those questions and put him up there in front of the cameras where he's flailing away and trying to answer some questions there. Give him some time away. I think it happens probably if it happens late Sunday, early Monday morning. Put Thomas Brown in as interim head coach and see what happens. Give him an audition. It can't get worse. And then you can make Eric Washington your defensive coordinator, play caller, and you go from there. And I bet you the Bears then pull off one or two more victories than they probably would have under Eberflus.
Yeah, and to your point about keeping the players from being lethargic or keeping them motivated, you got to keep the fans somewhat motivated too, because I think there's a certain amount of fans right now where when it went to overtime, I wasn't even after they got the onside kick. I was excited and I was ready to go, but I'm thinking to myself, how are they going to blow this? I think it's in our minds. It's in our DNA as Bears fans to say, how are they going to screw it up? How are they going to just fold under the pressure? How is this going to end terribly? That's the first thing that comes to my mind as a Bears fan is how are they going to screw this up? Rather than we got a chance, we got a life. You can't count this team out. They're going to be fighting to the end. They got a chance at the end. From watching this year, I'm thinking they're going to find a way to lose this. They're going to make some stupid mistake, or they're going to screw something up.
When they recovered the onside kick, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to win this game. They're going to win this game. And I'm like, my first thought was, is this going to save his job? Is this going to save Eberflus' job? And I was like, oh my God, here we go. But they ended up doing what they do best, and that's blowing the game.
Okay, before we get to some of the positives, I do want to, because we were talking about the Thanksgiving game. I want to get your thoughts on. Do you like watching the Bears on Thanksgiving? Is this something that you enjoy? Alyssa, you're going to be basically working on the holiday through this, so I'm going to start with you. Do you like when the Bears play on Thursday on the East Coast? For us, it'll be 12:30, 11:30 in Central Time. How do you feel about the Bears actually playing on Thanksgiving?
I mean, from a work standpoint, I don't enjoy it because I don't want to be working on Thanksgiving and, obviously kind of I go between houses. So I'll be watching the game, get my post-game stuff, then going to another house, eating, and then having to work some more. But outside of that, I mean, if I was just a fan, like before I started covering them, I enjoyed it because it's nice to, especially when you have a good team, because then, and with having Caleb Williams, I think, that makes me excited because it's like you want everyone to see just how good of a quarterback you have, or to see how good your team is normally. Not the case this year, obviously. But yeah, from a work standpoint, not excited. It's just below primetime games for me, I think. But yeah, just from a general fan standpoint, I mean, yeah, I enjoy it. And then you get a nice, relaxing Sunday to watch, other actual football teams play football. So yeah, not enjoying it from a work standpoint. No, but.
Danny, you like the Bears on Thanksgiving?
Let's hit on a good point. When they're good, so, right? Because if they go out there and they lay an egg, and like we're talking about, Detroit runs up 50 points on them, and they look like a laughing stock. I mean, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing for the franchise, for the fan base, for people who care about this organization, about this team winning. But if they're good. And they're a competitive team, and if they're are in there and they're challenging the Lions for first place or whatnot, and obviously you got a young up and coming quarterback. Yeah, you like to show that off. You like to be proud of your franchise. But yeah, I mean when they're going like this, it's just let's put them in hiding. I don't want to see them on a national spotlight. I don't want to see them on national TV where other fan bases are making fun of them, or other broadcasters are kind of laughing at them. So that's what I'm fearful of is them going out there and laying an egg and embarrassing basically the entire city of Chicago.
This is going to surprise both of you because I am Mr. Anti-Prime Time. I am Mr. Anti-National Television for the Bears. I love it whether they're good or bad on Thanksgiving, and I'm going to tell you why. Because obviously if they're good, you get to show off your team and everyone gets to see them, competing and being a good team. That's mostly, that's mostly fantasy because that doesn't happen for us. But because they're bad, you have a distraction through the game because I won't be working like Alyssa is. So I'll just be watching the game. And so I will be distracted whenever they inevitably embarrass themselves or they're looking bad. I'm just going to go get another plate of food and I'm going to put myself into a food coma. So whenever I'm sitting in the recliner watching the game and maybe the Bears are down 15, 20 points, I can just fall asleep. Or if I just go get more food, or I got to go get another slice of pumpkin pie, or I got to go get another thing of stuffing and gravy and turkey, because you know what? I have distractions on that day. It's a holiday. I'm going to be around family. I'm going to be, interacting with them, having conversations with them. And if the Bears are getting their butts kicked, I won't be as mad as I usually am. So I'm all about it. Do it early on Thursday. I'll have whatever that chemical is in turkey, tryptophan something or whatever it is. You have plenty of that running through my veins, and then I can just fall asleep. And then I don't have to worry about being ticked off about the Bears. So as someone who hates the Bears in prime time, I will take them on Thanksgiving because at least I can be distracted from the game whenever it goes downhill. But
what if they're good? John, that's our good team, and they're competing. Now, if they lose, will that ruin your Thanksgiving?
Well, no. Okay.
There's always turkey. Turkey makes it better.
There's always a route to be disappointed with the Chicago Bears. Yes. So if they were good and they lost, yeah, that might put a damper on it. But you know what? I'd much rather watch them good and lose than watch them bad and lose. But so I'll take it either way. I'm not gonna. If they were good and lost, I wouldn't be happy. But I'll take the Thanksgiving game. Plus, like Alyssa said, that really opens up my Sunday to that's stress free. You can just watch football and just enjoy it and take it from there. But guys, there might be some positives with this team right now, and I want to start with Caleb Williams. Danny, since the coordinator change, it looks like Caleb's been playing a lot more free. What have you seen out of the last 2 weeks, and maybe even specifically against the Vikings? What did you see with Caleb Williams and how he's playing?
Well, John, again, putting back-to-back games together with under Thomas Brown, the offense as a whole looks like they're playing more confident, more free. They look like they know what they're doing out there. They know their assignments. There's no confusion. There's no muddling around. Blocks, for the most part, are nice and crisp. Whether it's on the outside or inside. There's a resemblance of a plan. And with Caleb specifically, I was terrified of Caleb going against this Vikings defense. Okay, with the way Brian Flores, becomes exotic in terms of his blitzes, brings guys from all over the football field, different disguises, coverages, all that stuff. I thought Caleb was either going to get hurt or he's going to have like a 3 or 4 interception game, because Brian Flores has done that to veteran quarterbacks, guys. That's how great of a defensive coordinator he is. But this game again, Tom, and it all starts with Thomas Brown. You take a look at him in the booth. He's calm, he's relaxed, he's got the plays in front of him. He's not hyperventilating, and he's not searching for a play in his call sheet. He's got everything in, and that kind of then just exudes onto the football field with the players. Starts with Caleb. Caleb was under control. Caleb, there were a couple of times he even admitted that they got fooled on that great throw actually to DeAndre Swift, where he's running and he throws it down the sidelines there. He was fooled in terms of how many guys there at the line of scrimmage. So that's where he had to kind of rush up and make something happen. But he has a plan, guys. He's there. He calls his protection. He identifies who his guys are. And then 1, 2, 3, bam, the ball's out of his hands. No more 5, 7 step drop, sit back there, and all of a sudden the pressure's coming. Now you have to try and make a play, Caleb Williams. So, ball 1, 2, 3, bam, ball's out of his hands. Whether it's those quick swip swings to the receivers, or getting tight end Cole Kmet involved more in the game has been great. The one thing I would want to see this past game that didn't happen was a little more sticking with the run a little bit longer, but they did fall back by 14 points. The other thing is right there, guys, they fell back by 14 points to this Vikings team, again, with a pretty damn good defense, and they came back. I had no confidence whatsoever that they could have done that under Shane Waldron. But, they were able to sit there and come back, mount the comeback, and tie the game. Again, very, very impressed with what Thomas Brown has done. And again, he gives Caleb that confidence on the football field where he doesn't look like a deer in the headlights anymore, guys. He looks like a confident player out there making plays. And one thing that Caleb kind of led us into the little, the little, back and forth between them. He says, find your guy, get it. If not, go be Superman, go make a play. Last 2 minutes of the game, go be Superman. This is where you can go ahead and take over the game. And that's the kind of stuff the little small things, right? It gives these players the confidence to go out there and make plays. And I'm telling you, night and day, what we've seen Caleb Williams, go put on that New England game and then put on this Minnesota game. And you can see like 2 different quarterbacks, same jersey, same guy, but just 2 different quarterbacks playing a game of football.
Speaking of how Caleb Williams is adjusting to the new coordinator, Alyssa, do you have a breakdown of some of his distribution, how he's spreading the ball around?
Yeah, and coming off that game when they lost, it was hard to be mad because of how Caleb performed and how he was spreading the ball around. Because, this offseason, the Bears went out and, they already had DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. They went out and they brought in guys like Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze. And it's kind of felt like we haven't had a chance to really see them in action because Shane Waldron just couldn't get out of his own way. But yeah, Caleb did a really nice job spreading the ball around. He had 32 completions, and Keenan Allen, look at him leading the way with 9 catches. DJ Moore and Cole Kmet each had 7 catches. Dunze had 5. Even the running backs got involved for a combined 4 catches. So, there are a lot of weapons on this team for him, and that was definitely a focal point for Ryan Poles this offseason and in subsequent off seasons. So now we're finally getting to see, now that there is a competent guy at offensive coordinator who knows how to get his quarterback in a rhythm, knows how to call plays, knows how to get the most out of these weapons that they're paying for. Just was really impressed with how he's done that for the 2nd straight game, and looking forward to see how he's doing that against another really good Lions defense coming up on Thursday.
Danny, quick question from the chat room. It says, Danny, is it possible that Caleb gets back into the Rookie of the Year conversation, or is it too late? Obviously, Jaden Daniels was initially running away with that, but he's taken a step back in the last couple of weeks. But then you see Bo Nix emerging as a possible name in there. What do you think about, is it possible, especially for a team that is probably not going to end up with over 5-6 wins at the end of the year, to be named Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, that's the thing is like typically that goes hand in hand with a good team and winning record, right? So that's why Jaden Daniels kind of going on up, took the lead early on. Bo Nix is kind of like making some noise here, but I think unless Washington totally collapses, I think that's going to be Jaden Daniels, award at the end of the year. But that's fine, that's okay, because all I want to see is Caleb continue to get better and progress and continue to get confidence, grow that confidence, and attack these defenses. The Lions secondary isn't great. The safety, the second-year player out of Alabama, and I'm trying out Branch is a great player. They got a couple of safeties that can make plays on the football. Carlton Davis is older, bigger corner, but and then Terrion Arnold is a rookie, and he's coming off an injury too. So there's opportunities that I think for the Bears to make plays on this Lions secondary. So I want to see Caleb can take that next step and continue to grow and get rid of the ball out of your hands, make quick decisions. A pre-snap, identify your guys, post-snap, adjust to what's going on, and get the ball out of your hands and continue using your legs to get yourself out of trouble, whether it's to buy time for your receivers on a football field or just extend plays or even go and get a first down if you need to. The one thing also we've noticed with the passing game, guys, since Thomas Brown's taken over, the sacks have gone down. The offensive line all of a sudden looks like an offensive line. Now, I know that they got 3 sacks last game to Minnesota. One was on Caleb. That was the one in overtime where he just held on to the football and refused to get. That's something that he's going to have to continue to work on and get out of his game. But I think maybe another one early in the game I think was also on Caleb as well. But so like 1 sack here, a couple sacks versus Green Bay. So the offensive line has gotten better as well. That's what I'm saying. Like the whole offense just looks totally different with Thomas Brown calling it, as opposed to what Shane Waldron called for the first nine games. So that's another thing is this team as a unit continues to get better offensively. Now, of course, typical Bears. Offense is getting better, and then defense is declining. So that's the thing. They can never match up. Just like they never match up their coach with their quarterback. They can never match up their defense with their offense. So
the timelines will never, ever seem to align there. Danny, I'm going to stick with you real quick because something that Bears fans and the Bears in general would like to see take another step forward would be the rushing game. You look at the breakdown of the rushing stats. Caleb Williams led the team with 33 yards on the ground. DeAndre Swift, 13 carries for 30 yards. Roshan Johnson, 2 for 2. DJ Moore, 1 for 13. What's your analysis on this running game, and how can they adjust that moving forward?
Yeah, it was what's one thing where Caleb had 47 passing attempts as a unit themselves, they only ran it like 22 times, something like that. That number is not even, it's not balanced. You always want to see a balanced attack. I'm a big proponent of play action, help set up the passes down the football field. There was none of that. Now this was, again, it was an aggressive front from the Vikings. There wasn't much push in terms of the offensive line getting those guys off their spots. Plus, there are a lot of run blitzes too in terms of what Flores does, to convert and get down in those run gaps and kind of squeeze in and make those tackles. So the one thing I would like to do is I like the Roshan Johnson in the backfield with a lead blocker, whether it's Kramer or someone else in the front there. I know they've used Joe Everett, the tight end, is a lead blocker. I like some of that I formation stuff. I like some more power, some more between the tackle stuff. So I would like to see him try and do that here as well. So Detroit with DJ Reader in the middle of that defensive line, I know he's coming off an injury to see how, if he plays or not. But him and Ali McNeil inside, that's going to be tough to run against those 2 big guys. So I think this is going to be another game where they're going to have to kind of pick and choose their spots in terms of where they run, maybe do some more outside zone, maybe some more toss sweeps, get on the edges and get some plays there. Also use the check down, use the pass as an extension to your rushing attack as well. Get 2, 3, 4, 5 yards and set up a 2nd and 5 or 2nd and 4 as opposed to a 2nd and 9 and 2nd and 11, something like that. So, you might not be getting those chunks in the running game, but, don't give up on it. Maybe use some more power, bring in some more blockers there and get, Roshan Johnson more coming downhill in between the tackles. But also use the pass as an extension to your run game as well too. So different ways. Hopefully, I'm going to see what Tom's doing once he gets comfortable, guys, and in terms of being play caller, opening up more of the playbook to a lot of these guys. Because I think I'm thinking he broke everything down, started from scratch a little bit. Said, all right, let's go basics. Let's do things that we like to do. And then, from there on out, now you kind of build on that. So I'm curious to see how he builds on that moving forward with Caleb and that rushing attack. But yeah, definitely not enough attempts, not enough big commitment to the rushing game this past game. Again, I mentioned earlier, they were down by 14 points too. So, maybe felt like they had to start, get back into that throw mode because that was the way they were going to get back into the football game. So a lot of different things went into the final outcome in terms of the numbers there. But yeah, I definitely like a more balanced offense moving forward.
Quick follow-up for you, Danny. This is a question from Cliff in the chat room. He says, do you guys see any chance that the Bears trade down in round 1 and go after Ashton Gentry, the running back from Boise State, I believe, who is, for all intents and purposes, the best running back that'll be in the draft. For me personally, I don't think I would to go and spend a first rounder on a running back, knowing that you need so much help on the line. It's hard to pass up a talent like that. You can see what you see what Saquon Barkley's doing for the Eagles and some other running backs that are contributing. You see what McCaffrey, when he was healthy, was doing for the 49ers, and you can see that kind of juice there. But do you trade down and try to get someone like that, Danny, or just kind of you go after what you need?
I love that kid from Boise State, and I highlighted him earlier in the year on one of our Shimon spotlights here on B55. But no, that like to your point, John, you need a lot of offensive line, you need defensive line help. If you're lucky enough to get I think they're top 12 now. If you get into the top 10, trading down to getting a running back. I think he's going to go in that top 15 possibly, is from what we hear now. Obviously, a long way to go. See how that goes, but he's definitely going to be a first round running back. But you have a lot of holes on the offensive line. You got to fortify that front for Caleb. You got to go ahead and get some defensive tackles, maybe an edge rusher as well on the defensive line. And let's not forget, Keenan Allen's probably going to be gone, guys. So you're going to need another receiver. Tyler Scott, 4th round pick a couple years ago, was a healthy scratch this past game. So all you have is DJ Moore and Roma Dunze going forward. So you're going to have to get some receivers here, whether it's free agency or whether it's through the draft. So there's a lot of holes on this offense. Obviously, if you're a 4-7 team, you have some issues there as well. So running back to right now is a luxury that they can't afford in that first round. You'll find running backs third, day 2, day 3, not to the talent of the kid from Boise State, but definitely you're going to find some running backs. And you just invested a 3-year or 4-year contract in DeAndre Swift, as a free agent too. So and you have Roshan Johnson. So it's not a need as much as concentrating on that offensive line and defensive line is for me.
Alyssa, as much as that shiny object where it's like, wow, this is a really nice toy that you'd like to have, I think I agree with Danny. That's more of a luxury pick if you need it, as opposed to the Bears, who are going to need help, not just on the offensive line, but on the defensive side of the ball as well.
Yeah, I don't want to go another offseason without Ryan Poles significantly addressing the offensive line and the defensive line. So, it'd be really great to have him on this team, another weapon for Caleb, and what he could bring to this offense. But again, that's not a concern. That's not as big of a need at this point. DeAndre Swift, Roshan Johnson doing pretty well. Let's see what they can do behind an offensive line when you have an actual offensive line out there. So no, you need to draft a tackle, an offensive tackle or offensive lineman, in the first round. Defensive line, that's got to be the focus for Ryan Poles moving forward.
I agree. And I want to shift back the attention over to Thomas Brown, because he's the guy who's getting a lot of talk about him as far as would he be the interim guy if Eberflus is fired? How should they approach him after the season? Should they try to bring him back on as the OC next year with the new coach? But do you necessarily want to tell the head coach this is going to be your offensive coordinator? I don't think you can do that. And I think Danny agrees. Alyssa, I want to ask you about what on Brown says as far as Caleb's aura, how he kind of described him. What do you think that relationship is as far as Caleb and Brown going forward?
Caleb was talking about Thomas Brown and how he has this aura about him, and Thomas Brown was like, thanks for the compliment. But I think the one thing that really has stood out when listening to Caleb talk about Thomas Brown and how he's helped him is just his authenticity. Brown is just being himself, and he's someone who he's like, as soon as he stepped into that role, he commanded respect from the players, which is more than Shane Waldron ever got, or even Matt Eberflus, I feel like, at this point. And Caleb said that just Brown being who he is helped him. Communication is a big thing, and that's what Brown talked about today as well. Brown knows what the players want. The players know what he wants. So I think that communication, it's something that's so basic and simplistic, but something that has been missing from the offense because Matt Eberflus went with Shane Waldron over Thomas Brown. But, at least he made the right decision to move on from him. And now we have Thomas Brown out here who is in charge of Caleb's development for his rookie season. And like Danny had mentioned before, that I love that quote where Caleb was talking about, Caleb was like, okay, I have to just go out there and play the game, execute the game plan, take what the defense is giving me. But then Brown really encourages him, when it's time to turn it on, go play hero ball, go be Superman. And that's something that against Shane Waldron, the players had to ask him to coach them up and to be harsher on them. And it's ridiculous. Thomas Brown immediately went in there, and this is what I expect. This is what, and the players are like, this is what we want. 2 games, and we're seeing the results. So just really impressed with what he's been doing. And it's nice to see that Caleb really respects him as well.
Danny, let me ask you this, because everyone assumes that if Eberflus is let go, that Brown would be brought in as the interim head coach for the rest of the season. Do you have any concern about that, as if, hey, let's just keep him there to work on Caleb specifically for his development for the rest of the year? Don't worry about game management and challenges and checking in with everybody. Your sole job should be bringing Caleb along. So any concerns that maybe is that a thought process with the Bears that, hey, keep that guy with Caleb. We don't need to spread him thin throughout the rest of the year. Focus on just getting the quarterback going.
No concern on my part. I mean, I would just turn defense over to Eric Washington. He's been defensive coordinator in the league before. He's been an assistant head coach before in the league as well. I would say, Eric, you got the defense. Check in with me if you need to. And I would just focus, if I'm Thomas Brown, I'd focus on the football team as a whole, and specifically Caleb Williams in the offense and getting them to the next level. Because I honestly, guys, and I'm not joking or being funny here. I think if they make Thomas Brown as the interim head coach, I think the Bears win 1-2 more games. As opposed to now, I think with Eberflus, I think that the team morale is pretty low. I mean, even the defensive guys, I think they're out there, they're going to go out and play hard because they're professionals and they get paid to play hard. So I think they'll go out there and do that. But the morale is low. They know, or they feel like they go into every game with a mismatch in terms of the head coaching spot, where the other coach is probably going to outcoach their coach. Like you go into a game against Matt LaFleur. Do you think who's going to pick? You're going to pick Matt LaFleur or Eberflus? You're going to go a game against Kevin O'Connell. Is it Kevin O'Connell or Eberflus? You're going to go against Dan Campbell. Is it Dan Campbell? And that's another thing with the NFC North. All 3 of your division opponents have rock star, all-star head coaches, right? Guys that lead their team, guys that are renowned around the NFL in terms of their ability to be play callers, innovative play callers, leaders, guys that get the teams motivated and play hard for them. And you have here Matt Eberflus that just doesn't, and even the name doesn't just ring off your tongue in terms of motivational or someone you want to go play for. So, and the way he's managed and mismanaged this team, it's just, I think, just giving the players a jolt, right? Giving them something to say, all right, Thomas Brown might flail. He might be horrible. I'm not saying he's going to be great, but he's done it before in terms of assistant head coach. He can go ahead and concentrate on Caleb in the offense and let Eric Washington do the defensive stuff. And you might win 10 games or 2 games or maybe 3 games. Hell, who knows? And next thing you know, you may have your next head coach already in the building and not have to go out and bring him outside and all that stuff. And I'm a big Ben Johnson fan, but again, he's never been a head coach before. He's never done it before, right? I'm a big Mike Vrabel guy, but Mike Vrabel's a big personality, and we know the McCaskies don't like big personalities as their head coach. The last big personality he had as head coach is Mike Ditka, which was the last time they actually won anything. So go figure, right? So that's the thing, is like, if you got a guy here that could do the job and can be talented enough and get this team turned around, why not give him a shot? Give him an opportunity. So that's what I would do.
All right, well, let's move back to the game at hand on Thursday, and that's against the Detroit Lions, who it's crazy to think that they may be the best team in the NFL, which is just wild for me to say, but it's that tracks with being a Bears fan. But anyway, Alyssa, can you give us a rundown on some of the Lions' weapons, on what the Bears can be expected to be up against this week?
Yeah, on defense, obviously, I think it starts going against that 1-2 punch at running back with old friend David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Just what they're able to accomplish as a duo, it's going to be difficult to stop them. And this is already a Bears run defense that we highlighted earlier that has struggled mightily. So, I mean, obviously it starts in the run game, but then you go to the passing game. Obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be an issue, but I think that, we're going to see Jalen Johnson once again, perhaps shadow him like he shadowed Justin Jefferson. I think it'll give Johnson a chance to redeem himself after a couple of PI calls that he wasn't happy with there. And I'm kind of getting deja vu already, because we had Jordan Addison going off last week while the Bears contained Justin Jefferson. Like, Jameson Williams is someone who could benefit like Addison did, with St. Brown being the focus there, especially if Tyreek Stevenson is going to be covering him. Although I think perhaps Terrell Smith has passed him up, because, he outsnapped him last week, and he also was the starter in overtime. So I'm curious to see how that pans out. But I think the biggest weapon that the Bears are going to have to contend with is potential future Bears head coach Ben Johnson and how he's going to be able to exploit Chicago's weaknesses on defense.
Danny, how you feel against the Bears going up against this Detroit team and the weapons they have compared to what the Bears have?
Not very good, to be honest with you, John. I don't feel very good at all. But the one thing I want the fans to go ahead and keep an eye on the Lions when they're on offense in terms of how, and this is what I talk about Ben Johnson in terms of the way their formations are set, right? Their formations, they look like they could be a running play or it could be look like a passing play. And that's the thing like Ben Johnson. He sets everything up with a strong offensive line. He's got a 1-2 punch in the backfield with Montgomery, more of a power, guy that can come, go between tackles. And you got, Jahmyr Gibbs, who's got home run hitting ability. And then you match on the outside with Amon-Ra St. Brown, a Sam Laporta, the tight end, and then obviously Jameson Williams, who's more of that deep threat, big play guy. They got Tim Patrick, the veteran they picked up from the Broncos as well. So, Jared Goff passes the ball around there, but a lot of times they just rely on that rushing attack. They bludgeon you inside. They get you battered and beaten inside with the running game. And next thing you know, the play action, bam, over the top. There you go, Amon-Ra St. Brown, going for 30, 40 yards. Jameson Williams down the football field for 60, 70 yards. So, this is how he sets up his offense. This is why I love the fact what Ben Johnson does is everything is condensed, everything is set up off the run, and uses a lot of the play action stuff to set up his passing attack, and I just love it. And Jared Goff never looks rattled, never looks flustered. It could be because he has got a great offensive line in front of him, but still, it's just that he's got a plan. He knows what he's doing with the play call. And the one thing I like, and you'll notice in this game as well, I want the fans to watch, is how Ben Johnson sets up a play 2-3 plays prior, right? So he'll set up a big play, say Jameson Williams, by using the same formation, maybe flipping him around 2-3 plays later, and now you got a big play to Jameson Williams. That's how he confuses, and he stops the defense from a little bit in their tracks and giving that split-second edge to the offensive players to get behind the defensive, cornerbacks, safeties, linebackers, and now hitting them over the top with big plays. Keep an eye on how their formations are set up and how they all look almost identical. You won't see these wide 5 spread, guys all over the place. It's all going to be condensed. Maybe a trips to the right, maybe a trips to the left, but mostly a lot of 12-man personnel, maybe some 13-man personnel as well, and they use a lot of power game as well too in the run game.
Alyssa, I want to pivot over to Dan Campbell because I said during his initial press conference with the kneecaps and the biting and everything, I said, listen, I love that. I'm all about that. Did I think it was going to translate to what it has translated to? I was a little skeptical about that, but I loved the intensity because I'm thinking that's a guy I will run through a wall for because that's the kind of intensity he brings. What do you have to say about maybe the growing influence of Dan Campbell's coaching style?
I mean, I'm right there with you, John. I didn't think that would translate. I actually remember watching that first press conference and going like, who is this guy?
I love it.
I'm like, what's he talking about? Like biting kneecaps and stuff. And then a couple years later, you're seeing the players buy in. You're seeing the improvement for them. And, at first they're slowly getting over the hump. And then last year they're actually contending. This year they're arguably, I think, the best team in the league right now. So, I mean, I love everything about him, including his aggressiveness and his play calling, or, we know he's someone who's going to go for it on 4th down, come hell or hell water, whether he, which is something obviously that, Matt Eberflus is playing scared right now. So we don't know what that's like here in Chicago, but he's someone who he will trust his quarterback, unlike Eberflus, to go for it. Like when the Bears had 4th and 4 and they opted to punt instead of trusting Caleb Williams, who was just on a heater. I really love the relationship that he has with his players as well, because it's funny looking at Dan Campbell and Matt Eberflus, because it's like we want someone like Dan Campbell, and I think that's the point, is that this is the kind of coach that players will gravitate towards. They're going to play hard for, but they also respect him, which is something that's completely lacking with Eberflus right now. Could this be a type of style that could be the next kind of model that owners are trying to emulate? I don't know if the Bears will. They don't like big personalities, as we've mentioned several times already in this episode and past shows. So I love everything about him. That's the kind of guy that you would love for the Bears to get, but he doesn't seem like their cup of tea. But I love him, and I just love what he's doing with the Lions right now.
Well, I can tell you that the Bears' cup of tea is starting to turn sour. You need something that's a little different. And so I'm not saying that you have to be that way to be successful. We've seen plenty of mild-mannered coaches be wildly successful. I'm not saying that's the type of personality they have to hone in on. But it would be nice just to have that bigger personality on the sidelines. In my lifetime, really, that hasn't been there. You haven't seen a fiery guy on the sidelines. You didn't see that out of Mark Trestman or Matt Nagy or going all the way back to Wanstad or Dick Geron. You didn't see that fiery presence where it's just like, I want to follow that guy. I know that guy is going to be intense the entire time. And we just haven't had that as Bears fans. We haven't even had a bad coach like that. We've just had bad coaches that are just mild-mannered and, just like, yeah, we're going to do the best we can.
Wait, so Mark Trestman didn't give you come follow me vibes?
As much as he had that intensity about him, right? Yeah, he had that real hardcore intensity about him that made you just really want to read the encyclopedia. So I think that
that's the thing, John. And sorry to cut you off, but again, Ben Johnson fits their mold in terms of the cookie cutter, quiet guy. We haven't seen him in terms of as a head coach, obviously. So that's a lot of first time head coach. So that's what scares me about Ben Johnson. Even though I'm excited in terms of what he could bring in terms of innovative, play calling and working with Caleb. That also scares me, right? The guy you're looking for, John, if we want a vocal, big personality, is Mike Vrabel. He's a guy who's been a head coach, who's been successful as a player and a coach. He's a guy who'll come in. He'll build a tough defense. Aggressive defensive line. He'll help build that offensive line. He'll want that aggressive style up front. And I think that's one thing that I just couldn't remember. I was trying to look it up and see. Did Vrabel's time with KC kind of correspond with Ryan Poles? Is there a relationship there? I don't know. But that's the one thing that you have to keep an eye on. If that's the kind of guy you want, that's him. But again, it comes with a caveat. Who is Mike Vrabel's offensive coordinator? What is his plan? If his offensive coordinator is successful and he leaves, what's a succession plan, right? We saw that was kind of a little bit of his downfall there with Tennessee. Arthur Smith leaves and he puts in the next guy, and it wasn't the same. And next thing you know, players got hurt, players got injured, and they're losing now. So that's the thing is if you want a big personality, Mike Vrabel's sitting out there ready for you. But I think him, for me, is more so who is he going to bring as offensive coordinator? I think someone, I don't know if it was Cliff in the chat, said, Brian Flores. Brian Flores is a hell of a defensive coordinator, but his past with Miami and Tua and what he did to that rookie quarterback, that's not someone I want to bring in here to groom Caleb Williams. I'm sorry, and I know he'd be the offensive coordinator with bring in here and too, but that's not someone I would look at. I just want someone that's going to be able to either, if it's a Vrabel, have a plan for his offensive coordinator how he's going to groom Caleb, or if it is a Ben Johnson or some other offensive-minded coach, what their plans are in terms of how they're going to build this offense around Caleb Williams.
Do you see a scenario, Danny, where if they do bring in like Mike Vrabel, where they would, if Thomas Brown and his work with Caleb continues and he continues to develop, could they possibly retain Thomas?
It would have to be a Vrabel's call. It would have to be Vrabel would have to interview him. They can say, hey, we'll just interview Thomas Brown. We had success with him. We like him. He would have to interview him. It would have to be his call. You cannot force an offensive coordinator on a head coach. Once you do that, that's all she wrote right there. You're already taking, you're cutting off the kneecaps, if you will, no pun intended, of your new head coach. So if Vrabel says, all right, I'll interview him, and he likes him, hire him, bam, good, no problem. But if he says I'm not down with what he wants to do, then you got to let him bring in his own offensive coordinator.
I want to go to because we're on the subject. I want to go to a question that Tony brought up in the chat. It said, "Would you guys want the Tampa Bay OC?" That'd be Liam Cohen. He worked with Thomas Brown in LA. Danny, what's your rundown of Liam Cohen? Taking care of the bake show down in Tampa right now with Baker Mayfield. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, that's another guy that's name is kind of popping up here, up and coming. He's a guy that was with Sean McVay. I believe he was an assistant either tight ends coach or receivers coach. Went to Kentucky for a year. I believe it was with Levis, where he had that great year in Kentucky. Can't end up coming back to the Rams, becoming the offensive coordinator for 1 year and under Sean McVay. And then obviously once Tampa had an opening for OC, he went to Tampa. Now he's leading the offense for Tampa. The Bucs is phenomenal, right? And again, it's centered around the rushing attack, play action. Baker Mayfield's having a pretty damn good year. And remember, he lost his two top receivers, Goodwin and Vince Evans, for big chunk going off for the year. Evans just came back. and they were able still to put up some points. They weren't as successful in terms of wins and losses, but they were still able to be competitive in football games. So Liam Cohen is a guy that's getting some buzz around the league. He's going to get interviews definitely for head coaching job. But again, he's a guy, limited experience in terms of, being the guy, the offensive play caller, obviously done it in college, done it somewhat under McVay, and now he's doing it here with the Bucs. So, that gives you a little bit more experience. But again, first time head coach, there's a lot of question marks, but he's a guy that is a young up and coming, play caller that will get interviews this year.
And he also interviewed for that Bears offensive coordinator job and was passed over for Shane Waldron.
They picked Shane Waldron.
Oh, everyone who's having success actually interviewed for that position. They just didn't get it. Pretty telling right there. And Danny, that goes back to what I was talking about last week and maybe the week before, whereas if you bring in an offensive head coach and, he's had success, has he had success with young quarterbacks, or has he only been working with established quarterbacks that can run his system as it is right now? So with Liam Cohen working in the college ranks, does that give you more confidence that he can work with younger quarterbacks and help them progress?
Working with the college ranks with Will Levis, who obviously went on to be a second-round pick. But he gives you some of that. And obviously, Baker Mayfield, he comes in when Canales leaves to take the Panthers job. He had a pretty good, season last year, and he just kind of picks up where he left off. So the one thing good about Liam Cohen is they run basically the same offense as Thomas Brown does here with the Bears in terms of that Sean McVay, offensive scheme and all that stuff. So they both come from the same coaching tree, if you will. So that might be an opportunity where maybe Thomas Brown is able to stick on the roster, maybe as a de facto offensive play caller, with Liam Cohen being the guy who calls the plays. But that could be someone that's some familiarity there with Caleb and with the rest of the offensive players. If Liam Cohen is a guy, there is basically the same system. Maybe you can keep Thomas Brown on staff as well. You keep things familiar for Caleb moving forward. But again, he's a young guy, young coach. And that's the thing. We'll see. He'll get interviews, so we'll see. There's going to be about 7 or 8 openings, guys, and there's going to be a lot of guys, coming and going after these guys. So the Ben Johnsons, the Vrabels, the Liam Cohens, even Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator for the Lions, is a guy, again, not a offensive guy. And I know I've been on here saying I want a young coach that's going to grow with Caleb. But man, if you have a leader, if you have a guy that the team will follow, and they all just believe in him, if he can make the right hire at offensive coordinator, that's going to be key for the Bears. So I'm not totally opposed to defensive guys like Glenn and Vrabel. Obviously, I prefer an offensive innovator. But man, if you get a guy like that and paired with a nice offensive play caller, I think that's going to be key as well.
So let's pivot back to the game on Thursday. If there are keys to the game, if it's worth talking about keys to the game, Alyssa, I'm gonna start with you. What are you gonna be looking for? Maybe it's not even about the game. Maybe it's something outside of the game. Maybe it's something during the game or something. Maybe it's something a little more existential with the Bears, where it's not necessarily something pertaining to the game itself, but what it could mean for the Bears in the future. What do you think are some of the keys going into Thursday?
Well, the thing that I'm gonna be looking forward to, I think it's the most important thing remaining this season, is Caleb Williams and what he's able to do against another really good defense. I want to see the offense be able to sustain drives. I want to see Thomas Brown continue his upward trajectory. And I'm obviously going to be looking at the defense as well and seeing how they respond after a brutal outing, because it's going to be tough going against these weapons. If they do put 50, is Eberflus going to be fired? That's what I'm looking forward to after the game. Is that because because if it just goes to hell like we expect it will the Bears make the move to fire Eberflus? That's where my mind is going. But outside of Caleb Williams, because his development and what he's going to be able to do against a really another tough defense, if he can sustain drives and continue, that you got to score when you get in the red zone as well. If they can kind of keep with the Lions for a little bit before the defense falls off a little bit and the Lions just kind of take over, and that run game just really gets to them, I think I would be pleased. And also looking forward to the end of the game to see if the Bears do what they need to do.
Danny, what do you think some of the takeaways, or what are you going to be looking for throughout this game?
Similar to piggyback off of what Alyssa just said in terms of Caleb Williams in the offense. Thomas Brown, third game with Caleb. Are you going to see the ascension keep going there with Caleb? Looking more and more comfortable. He threw for 340 yards last week, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's key there as well. Are we going to continue seeing that progress, seeing that passing attack and hopefully running attack flourish under Thomas Brown? And defensively, guys, are they going to bounce back? Are they going to be able to keep this team, in check in terms of the Lions? Now, the Bears have had success versus the Lions, especially last year. They split the two games. Probably could have won both games if you, to be honest with you. The Bears blow a big lead there in the fourth quarter. So, I think there's a team for whatever reason, they do match up well with Detroit. So I think the Bears might have some confidence going up against the Lions. So we'll see how that translates, or does the Lions just go ahead and just play bully ball, like I said, and just run all over this, this better defensive line and put up, monster numbers on the board. So, Caleb's development, continued growth, the offense getting better and better, and does the defense respond? And, does Eberflus still have their attention and is able to put some pressure on Jared Goff and, keep the Bears, either in this game or maybe even pull out a miracle victory?
Yeah, for me, I want to see if it's overly evident with the contrast of coaching styles, because you have one Dan Campbell who is ultra aggressive, will go for it. He's playing to win, not afraid to lose. He's gonna go and he's gonna make those calls that is gonna. Sometimes they're high risk, but they're also high reward. And then you have Matt Eberflus, which we all know how he coaches. He coaches scared and coaches conservatively and coaches on his back feet. It's like a boxer who's always on his back foot. He's just never going forward. He's always on the defensive. So I'm interested to see how evident that actually is throughout the course of the game, to see how Eberflus coaches and how Dan Campbell coaches, and maybe that is the spotlight that would get him shown the door if they end up getting beat badly on Thanksgiving. You know what? Speaking of Thanksgiving, there is a lot for us to be thankful for, even if we are Bears fans. So let's go around the horn here. Alyssa, what are you thankful for, Bears related wise, going into this list? Because I always say, the Bears are bad, but there are some franchises that are off even worse. So, what are you thankful for as a Bears fan?
No, you're true. It could always be worse. I think I feel most thankful where it feels like the Bears finally got their guy in Caleb Williams, and looking at what he's able to do with just what's going on right now with this team. And, the change in offensive coordinator midseason and how he's able to adapt and work with Thomas Brown, and just seeing him get that confidence and continue to build and watching him make throws that I've never seen a Bears quarterback make before. Just really thankful that it feels like they got the guy. Now they have to go out there and make the right hire at head coach and or offensive coordinator. I am especially thankful that the Matt Eberflus era is almost over. Like Danny said, we got 6 games left of this, and then we won't have to listen to his press conferences anymore. And also thankful for, the weapons that the Bears have. I love getting to see DJ Moore and Roma Dunze, and, Keenan Allen for the short time that we got you, good on you for making plays. So, I mean, that's about
it. That's about as much as you can possibly say, given the record of the team. But Danny, what are you thankful for when it comes from a Bears perspective?
Yeah, I mean, Alyssa pretty much stole my thunder there. I mean, those are the same things as the development of Caleb Williams that we talked about, and the combination of him and Thomas Brown, continuing to get better. And then obviously the 6 games remaining in hopefully remaining in the Matt Eberflus era. Yeah, hopefully we'll see. But the other thing is the continued rapport that Caleb has developed with Roma Dunze. Because one thing that goes overshadowed is that clutch 4th down catch Roma Dunze had in that fourth quarter there. Getting them in that field goal range or getting them close there. That was like he went up against two defenders outstretched away from his frame, bought the ball and got hit. Wasn't scared to get hit and made a big play. And I think the sky's the limit for Roma Dunze. I think that continues to get better and better. I want to see him develop, and obviously the Cole Kmet connection, and then DJ Moore is getting more and more involved under Thomas Brown as well. So seeing that offense come together with Caleb Williams, I think Alyssa, you touched on a great. They have a quarterback now. Now it seems like they have a play caller that has an idea in terms of how to utilize some of these weapons on the outside. And let's see this offense just kind of take off here for these final 6 games.
Yeah, for me, it's basically just a summary of what you guys just said. I'm thankful for the fact that it looks like they have a core on offense that they're going to have around for the foreseeable future with Caleb Williams, Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, and Cole Kmet. Now, they obviously need to address the offensive line and get that beefed up, but it looks like they at least have some of their playmakers locked down for the foreseeable future. So that is exciting to see. And then overall, I'm just thankful that I have this show to talk to Alyssa and Danny and Aldo and everybody in the chat room, because this really is therapy whenever you're a Bears fan, to get all of those aggravations out, to say it, to verbalize all of that and talk through it. And, because we've been doing this show for 8 years, and I think we've had one good season. Maybe we had two playoff seasons, but one really encouraging season back in 2018. So that's going through a lot as Bears fans. That's going through a lot as podcasters. So I'm thankful for this show, and thankful for everyone that works on it. I'm thankful for Danny, and thankful for Alyssa, thankful for Aldo, who's pushing all the levers and making all the videos and doing everything for us throughout this year. So incredibly thankful for that. And of course, thankful to everybody in the chat room. I can't believe, I always say this, I can't believe that after 8 years, people are still listening to this, but I am very appreciative of everyone in the chat room, whether you're in the live version or the podcast version, the video version, or the audio version. But we are going to sign off from this edition of Buffone 55. But before we do, the Podfather Aldo Gandia did put together something. It's a video that might accomplish the impossible. It may make you proud to be a Chicago Bears fans. We leave you with this. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
4 and 6 Lions, all tied at 16. Here comes Stafford. And he's picked off. And it's going the distance. Eddie Jackson, for the 5th time in his young career, has a touchdown. He's gonna bring the orchestra together like he did last week. Last week it was an orchestra. Out of the backfield. In the basket. He picks up the first step in the end zone. For the Chicago Bears. Under 5 to go. Montgomery. Still running hard and got 10. Not lose yardage on this play. Pass down the sideline for Miller. It is there for the catch. What a throw, what a strong catch. Thanksgiving game belt to the winning team in this game. Which side wins? Pass is caught for the touchdown, Montgomery. A record of 3-7-1 overall. Wow, in trouble, takes a sack back near the 40. Roquan Smith. That was Khalil Mack who was showing it. He's coming with pressure, and here's one aired out downfield and picked off. Taking a seat, Eddie Jackson. And with that, the Chicago Bears. Dome throws, Komet has got a first down. Ducks out of pressure. Flag on the play, pass complete. That's too many of the easy layups. 2nd and 10, Montgomery, a nice cutback. What a good, strong run for a first down for Chicago. 2nd down and 11. Pass is caught. Komet. Dalton. Pass is caught for the first down. Good snap, good hold, good kick, goodbye. Bears win it, and the 5-game losing streak is over for Chicago.